Good evening, everyone. Just going to do a little video here and talk about paint. And the reason why I'm doing it is that there's a difference between sometimes painting just a manufactured blank, which are easy to paint and they look great. I love painting blanks, and also getting a job of doing, repaints, which are either used lures that someone's had that they want a new paint job or design, or if they bought a brand new lure that's a manufactured lure, whether it be like a Rapala or a Megavast or something like that, and you want to have your own custom color on it because maybe you like the way that the lure, action of the lure, but might not care for the paint job that the company puts on them. So sometimes you can, go to a professional painter and they can do that, custom paint, and they can do that for you. Now, I don't do a lot of repaints. I don't mind doing the bigger ones because larger lures are easier to paint than smaller blanks. And that's a fact. So we're going to talk about painting blanks and some of the rules and what I do to help ensure a perfect clear coat. Because in the end, your clear coat can be affected greatly by the paint that you've used and whether you've sealed it or not. Sealed the paint between the paint and the clear. We'll talk about the product for that, and also with repaints, because repaints sometimes they're not always painted with the same paints that you use by the factory. Sometimes they use solvent-based paints that can react with certain paints that you're going to put over top of them directly. So it's always good to kind of find a way of sealing in between them, from the old paint, which could be different paint, to the new paint or ink that you're going to use. So we'll just go over that a little bit. So I'm just going to flip around and we'll get started here. Okay, everyone. So this is to go over some of the process. This is a ABS blank that's made overseas. You can get two different types of ABS, I find. Sometimes it's molded out to be really, really clear and smooth. So lots of times I like to just scuff that down with a very, very fine Scotch-Brite pad and then clean it really well with alcohol. Sometimes it's not so smooth and you could just clean that with alcohol and paint over top without scuffing. So I'll tape off my bill and then my paint job will start from there. And usually, people will do different effects with a clear bait, or maybe they want to put a base coat down, like white or black, or an opaque color. And this is all water-based. And then before they actually when they then paint their lure with all these different paints, and this is the thing about these different paints, some of them are transparent, some are opaque. We've got some candies, some inks, some pearlescence. But one paint that I find will screw up your clear coat is fluorescence. There's something about fluorescence. I don't know if it's a chalky quality or what it is, but if you put 2-part epoxy 30-minute over top of it, tends to want to separate and fisheye. So to cure that problem, I'll put down 4004 transparent base, and then I get a good seal between the clear and the paint. You can also use Minwax polyacrylic mixed with some water to a percentage, and that will work the same as this, but I love using this. So I suggest always putting this with every paint job I do on my lures here, my blanks. I make sure there's a layer of this or two on, a coat of this or two on, before I add the clear coat. Okay? So for blanks, that's kind of the rule of thumb for me in my shop. Now with repaints are a different story. I don't do a lot of them. Bigger baits are easier to do. This one is my cousin's, and it's a hang ten manta. Here's an old one that I painted for him years ago when I didn't know much about painting or paint or clear coats, and it turned out well until the hook rash got to it. This one will have more coats of clear on it. Eventually it'll get scratched all to hell, but maybe it'll prolong the life of it more. So this particular lure is exactly the same as this one, okay, the one that I did for him years ago. And it was even the same factory color as this. It was like this orange perch with the black stripes. This blue paint's the paint that I put on over top. So with this one here, it was the same. So I sanded it down with paper, not to take it right down to the white plastic, but just to scuff it up. I cleaned it well with alcohol. And now I'll go through the process of what I did, just verbally step by step. So what I did then was, once it was sanded and cleaned, I put on a primer, and I use this awesome stuff here. It's Autoborn gray base. You can get it in white or black or all different colors actually. I put this down, and this sealed over top of that old paint, and it stuck really well, super well, rock solid. Then from there I put a base coat on over top of that, gray. So let's say I use white and then some blue. Now then I wanted to put a first coat of clear, 2-part epoxy. So before I did that, I sprayed the 4004 on, and that made a barrier between my base coat paint and the 2-part epoxy 30-minute clear, which is, I use Envirotex Light. Once that cured, you can start your paint job from there, once that first layer clears. But what I did was I then added a foil, a duct tape foil. It's adhesive on one back, and I like to do a fancy foil job. So I applied that over top, and then I scuffed it with that light pad, cleaned it really well, especially the paint part on top, which was the bold base paint, and underneath in the belly. And then I put a second layer of clear on with glitter in it. And that glitter, then once that cured, that's when I gave it a slight scuffing again now, and on that second coat of clear. And then that's when my real paint job started for all the different specific colors. So once I got my paint job done, I then sprayed over, I then put over top of that paint job 4004 clear, or transparent base, sorry. 4004 transparent base. So again, I made a seal between the paint the new paint and the various colors I put on, and that layer of clear I wanted to put in. So then I put my third layer of clear, which is what I got now. And I'll just keep putting, I'll just lightly scuff it, clean it well, and put more layers of clear on. And a thicker series of clear, just to prolong that hook rash problem a little bit. So this is the end result. And again, you got to use some materials, being things like Autoborn, to seal between the old paint, factory paint, and your new paint. And then you can put your base coat on, or put this down over top of your primer, or if you put base coat over your primer, and then get your next layer of clear, and then you can paint on that clear or foil it or whatever. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, just post something in the comments. If none of this made sense to you, well, then I'll try and break it down better and make another video. Okay, thanks, guys. Bye-bye for now.